It's TW Wrestling Talk here, the closing segment of this episode of TW Wrestling Talk on December 11th. We were talking about earlier how, kind of a poor edition of Monday Night Raw we're coming off of. How we're looking, you know, towards TLC, which I'll talk more about, this weekend for a little. When I make my monthly pay-per-view predictions for TLC. But where does WWE go from there? What are some ways that they can use, all the big names that they have, that they could, guys like The Rock and Brock Lesnar who aren't around all the time. How are they going to incorporate guys like that? How are they going to incorporate some up and coming stars like Dolph Ziggler and Ryback, of course? Um, I have a list here. No, not a Christmas list. A list of I about 12 guys. I think 12 guys here. That in this block here of TW Wrestling Talk, this closing part three of this edition, I'm gonna try to come up with perhaps how, if I were Vince McMahon, if I were booking, building up, putting together WrestleMania 29, how the following guys could be utilized. On this list, I have CM Punk, The Rock, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Ryback, Randy Orton, Sheamus, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, Big Show, and then Kane and Daniel Bryan, Team Hell No. How does WWE use these guys at WrestleMania? To the best of their ability. Um, well, first of all, CM Punk I have at the top. CM Punk, The Rock I have at the top of the list because to me those two guys should be the main event of WrestleMania, hands down. Um, because CM Punk, I think, could kind of use against The Rock at WrestleMania. I think could be, a bit, perhaps the highest point of his career, his finest hour. Of course they're supposed to face at Royal Rumble. I know. People say why do they face again at WrestleMania? Um, well, because perhaps The Rock beats CM Punk for the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble, and from there, CM Punk should have a rematch clause of some sort. Um, Perhaps. I mean, he could, where he could possibly, face The Rock at whenever he wants again. But let's say he just loses um, the title, and then WWE doesn't, they don't do anything about a rematch clause, but then they throw him in the Royal Rumble. See, this is where more stuff comes in, more people come into play. CM Punk loses his championship to The Rock. His big reign is over. Um, but he ends up getting entered in the Royal Rumble because somebody else goes down. Uh, let's say Brock Lesnar makes a surprise return at the Royal Rumble, not to be in the Royal Rumble match. Paul Heyman has brought him back, um, perhaps, and gets he attacks somebody that ends up not being, who is a high entry, who is, high on the list of entries. In other words, he was close to number 30 being in the Royal Rumble match. He gets knocked out by Brock Lesnar, and they need a replace. They need someone to replace that spot. CM Punk and Paul Heyman talk to, you know, perhaps it's going to be Vicky Guerrero who's kind of in charge. Perhaps Vince McMahon's there. I maybe Vicky Guerrero. We'll just go with Vicky Guerrero, and they talk since CM Punk lost his title. They talk them into getting him in the Royal Rumble match. Last, and we'll say this is entrant 30. Um, who that is, I don't know, but you know, CM Punk gets in this Royal Rumble match, and it comes down to because he's pretty beat up from earlier from his match with The Rock. It comes down to him and Ryback, and what happens is Brock Lesnar interferes with this, recruited by Paul Heyman, and screws Ryback out of the match. He all but put sets him up so that CM Punk knocks Ryback off and out. Again, he was kind of Brock Lesnar was kind of hired by Paul Heyman here. This sets up a match with Brock Lesnar and Ryback at WrestleMania. Um, a pretty darn close second to The Rock and CM Punk. Brock Lesnar and Ryback is like a dream match. In WrestleMania 29, that would be a good place to do it. CM Punk versus The Rock at WrestleMania for a rematch where CM Punk likely regains his title. That's what I think. I could you could work out a couple of the quirks there, but something like that um, involving those four guys. Now, of course, you have John Cena, Shane, and Dolph Ziggler on this list. Here's what I do. What I would do. Dolph Ziggler beats John Cena at TLC, defends his Money in the Bank briefcase. Um, Now, if I were WWE, I'm just I give John Cena off for for a little bit. Um, a little. It can maybe be a few weeks. Maybe he's at the Royal Rumble, in some form. But ultimately, his at some point his feud revives with Dolph Ziggler, um, and they end up facing each other at WrestleMania, for rematch. And then here John Cena can kind of get a win back on Dolph Ziggler, as long as Dolph Ziggler already has beaten John Cena for his Money in the Bank briefcase, at TLC. That's fine. I don't mind John Cena then getting a win back on Dolph Ziggler. Um, Especially, well, I'll get to this in a second. Um, Perhaps again, it's a little difficult. Sheamus and Big Show. I mean, they already have this feud going. We don't exactly know when it's gonna end. Um, and I already kind of made it that CM Punk wins the Royal Rumble. Um, but let's say somehow once again at WrestleMania, Big Show and Sheamus, and Sheamus is like kind of on on a route to regain the World Heavyweight Championship. Maybe he loses at TLC, and he tries to win the Royal Rumble, and it doesn't happen. Um, he try and then, but then he gets another shot at um, the Elimination Chamber, and if he wins that, he becomes the number one contender. And maybe he he faces Big Show again, and I mean, I know it's a lot, but they've been doing a better job with Big Show and Sheamus having rematches than they did with Del Rio, certainly. who I don't have on this list, kind of, you know, for my obvious reasons, but somehow they have a rematch sort of in the fashion, that gets set up kind of like I just mentioned. Um, and Sheamus beats Big Show. He gets his championship back, all but for a mere moment, because Dolph Ziggler comes out to redeem himself after losing, a rematch to John Cena. Um, and he steals the show in a sense. Um, Cashes in his Money in the Bank on Sheamus, and kind of redeems himself at WrestleMania on that night, and becomes World Heavyweight Champion. He has a big WrestleMania moment. Um, and perhaps that leads to a triple threat with those three guys at Extreme Rules. Um, you know, so that's, I think, a possibility of a way WWE could take those guys. Um, the guys I didn't really use yet, Kane and Daniel Bryan. Perhaps they have a big tag team title defense. Um, Perhaps against. I mean, they're already facing the Rhodes Scholars, um, TLC, but you know, maybe against the best heel tag team at the time, unless they lose their tag team championship sooner. But perhaps they can keep being champions for a little, and maybe lose it to you know the Rhodes Scholars down the road. No pun intended. Uh, but I mean, something like that. I think of the other tag teams out there. I think the Rhodes Scholars are they kind of stand out to me more than anyone else. They have the most potential as a tag team, I think, of being a successful tag team as anyone else, um, at the moment. I mean, Team Hell No, so long as they keep them together, they'll be to me they'll be successful and the fans will love them. But as far as other than that, heel teams, bar none, it has to me it has to be the Rhodes Scholars right now. So perhaps that happens. That match happens. Um, and then that kind of leaves Randy Orton and the Miz. You know, I don't know what they'll do. What exactly they'll do with them? Maybe Orton turns heel en route to WrestleMania. Maybe at WrestleMania Orton turns heel or something. We don't know yet. And the Miz too. I mean, Miz and Orton. It doesn't seem like they have any clear cut plans for them at this time. So that I don't know what they'll do with them. There's other guys that they could use them with. Um, Wade Barrett, Kofi Kingston. I mean, I don't know. Uh, but you know, perhaps we don't exactly know what. There's a little more gray area with those guys, just because WWE doesn't have a clear cut direction for them. You know what Miz what Miz is in his Miz TV segments and his promos as of late. Randy Orton has been in like matches. They don't neither guy is they don't have a clear cut direction for him. It seems, um, but they have they use them Miz for these segments, and they use Orton kind of just however they please in matches. Um, so hopefully they use those guys, um, a little more creatively and originally in the coming months leading up to WrestleMania, so they could have something relevant. But uh, maybe against each other. Who knows? With Orton, with a heel Orton again, we'll see. But um, you know, CM Punk against The Rock rematch. CM Punk regaining the title. I could, if they could do that. And by the way, this is provided that Triple H and Undertaker are not a part of this year's WrestleMania. Um, Undertaker has been banged up. It seems, we don't know if he's going to be back at least at this year's WrestleMania, if at all. We don't know that, but it doesn't. It seems unlikely. It just feels unlikely right now that Undertaker will be a part of WrestleMania 29 in a match capacity. Um, what if maybe what if he like came got involved somehow in the Kane and Daniel Bryan match? If they had a match or something. But Triple H too, I don't really see him being in a match. Um, it's time to let these other guys, take up those three big matches or so. Um, which, like I said, could be CM Punk and The Rock, Brock Lesnar and Ryback, and you got John Cena, Dolph Ziggler. Could be in a match, and Big Show and Sheamus. I think those are solid matches. That could one-on-one matches that could possibly occur, and there could be other ones out there. They could have a fatal four-way or something for the U.S. or Intercontinental title to mix it up. Um, and, tag team match. So at least they're mixing it up. Um, as far as stipulations go, I mean, they could always do something along. They could mix one of those matches up. I think. Uh, whether it be Sheamus and Big Show defend their title and like if they have like a steel cage match at WrestleMania or something to mix it up a little bit. Um, I don't know, but that's those are some of my ideas. If tonight I was to, you know, kind of write this WrestleMania with WWE, that's what I would do. So, kind of let me know what you thought um, of this particular part of TW Wrestling Talk, of this edition of TW Wrestling Talk, and just anything else on the show in general. Um, that I've been discussing here. I please, I encourage feedback greatly, and I appreciate the viewership. Please stay tuned for more TW Wrestling Talk, with TLC predictions coming this weekend before the pay-per-view. And as always, thanks for watching, and hope to hear from you. Just feel free to leave any feedback on this channel, on this video, whatever it may be. Just continue to stay tuned for TW Wrestling Talk.